You're about to listen to a podcast full of wonder, excitement, and discovery. It's time for an adventure through Odyssey. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Adventures Through Odyssey podcast, Odyssey Revisited. I'm Will, here by myself again, and yes, I know this is the second in the car episode we've done in a row. John is in a play, and Gabe is not responding to my text messages. Hashtag Gabe, please respond to Will's text messages. But I thought I could review another club episode. I probably will start going through those on weeks we can't record and do a short episode. But I thought it would be kind of fun to address some of these comments we've been getting, because I haven't really addressed them directly because I'm really bad at remembering to do that. But I do read all of them. I do 100% read all of them. Some housekeeping first. One, we are still on to do the live show and probably reenact some scenes. We are not going to be reenacting scenes during the live show because that will be a statistical nightmare. We're not 100% sure what the live show is going to consist of yet, because there are going to be relatives of ours who are there who might want to take part, who don't have the encyclopedic knowledge of Odyssey that Gabe, John, and I do. So trying to do a whole album review might be a problem, so we're thinking maybe doing Odyssey debates where we talk about facets of the show. So if you would like to send us debate topics, or, just topics to discuss in general, leave them down in the comments. And the date that you can send in scenes has been extended to May 1st, because I thought we were going to have a few more episodes between the announcement and Easter. Lastly, so in the last episode, there were some points about we might not be able to do a live show because things sometimes get too off the rails, and there was a lot of deleted footage from that episode. I've kind of trimmed through the deleted footage and put in not the most egregious stuff, because there's nothing terribly bad happened, but just a few scenes that might be considered offensive, but there's nothing super offensive in there. There were just scenes that were asked to be removed, so I'm putting it up as an unlisted video, meaning you either have to be subscribed to the channel or follow the link that is right here on the screen to go see it. Again, this is probably completely G-rated. You're not gonna, find us swearing at each other or anything like that. There's one moment where it sort of looks like I'm giving John a rude hand gesture, but I'm not. So, alright, so you look at that and tell me if you think that's too egregious for a live show, and we will reconsider if there's a problem. Alright, so we're going to address some fan comments. First, in the last episode, I did mention someone sent me the 90 Devotions for Kids book, which I've been going through, and it's a pretty well done devotional. Yes, they're all one-page devotions, so they're pretty brief. It would actually be kind of a good thing to build a Sunday school curriculum around, which I might actually consider doing. Anyway, there was a request if we could read a devotion read the devotions on air and we go through it together. I'm a little worried that's a copyright infringement, me to read a devotion on camera and post it online that was written by a third-party company. I couldn't find anything concrete on that, but if someone knows if that would be illegal or copyright infringing, just again, leave it in the comments. So now to actually addressing the comments that we've been getting. So first, I got a couple emails asking what happened to Elizabeth, and no, there was not some big falling out. Her schedule just got really hectic. She couldn't really make recording times. Gabe and John, of course, have not been the greatest at making recording times recently, but they're a little more flexible in their schedules than Elizabeth was. So no, there's no bad blood between us. We're not screaming at each other. She's not going to appear on a live show and we suddenly have a punching match. So don't worry. Then another email I got about 2 days ago asked me if I've ever been high when I record the podcasts. I guess I just look like I'm high because I got that on my movie reviews once too. No, I've never been high. If someone could explain to me why someone might think that, I know I'm sometimes a little excitable on the podcast, but I'm trying to bring some life to it. Not that Gabe and John don't bring life to it. John is the breakout star of this thing, and I don't know if I should resent that or not. Take a comment from the Novacom wrap-up, where you may recall, and I'm not going to read who sent these just in case they don't want me saying their names on the air. You may remember in the Novacom wrap-up, John talked about how he hates episodes that parody The Wizard of Oz, including one of his favorite shows, Futurama. I'm not entirely sure if I'm allowed to say that because that's not exactly a family-friendly show, but I'm gonna ignore that. So someone posted, the Phineas and Ferb Wizard of Oz was pretty good. I'll take your word on it, because I remember watching the first 2 seasons of that show, stopping and then watching the finale, and realized just how much Phineas and Ferb had kind of become supporting characters in their own show by the end. And by that point, Gravity Falls was out, which is honestly miles better than Phineas and Ferb. Still a fine show. I'm sure that was good. I actually did kind of like the VeggieTales one, which was a version of A Prodigal Son. It's overlong, yes, but any telling of A Prodigal Son you're going to do sort of has to be overlong, because that story takes up less than a page in a normal Bible. Most parables do. So VeggieTales has to flesh them out. Someone asked if we would ever do a VeggieTales podcast. Probably not. I've got an idea for another podcast in mind once this one finishes, but we will see. So, When One Door Closes Part 1, about halfway through the episode I mentioned, it's kind of great to see how long an adventure in the Imagination Station lasts, because, we've never really heard that before, and I'm sure someone's going to correct that in the comments. I was right. One of our most diligent commenters pointed out that in Moses and the Passover, for the 2-part episode, Jimmy and George were in there for 15 minutes. So I'm assuming the Imagination Station's kind of like one of those things where time just moves in a weird way. Like, I get the feeling maybe with something like this, Whit was able to condense the amount of time that goes by. It's confusing, but is it like that time goes a little faster when you're playing video games thing? I don't know. That is something I've always wondered. How do they not have lines out the door for the Imagination Station constantly? The adventures have to be a little shorter than the actual runtime of the episode if you wanted to get more than 10 kids through a day. Alright, so in the second part of the NovaCon episode, I mentioned, why did they want to reverse the process? I don't think they ever really talked about why they wanted to do that. And someone did point out they do talk about them talking about reversing the process. They never actually explicitly state why they want to. Now again, I could have missed it. I know they're talking about that's why Eugene leaves and all that stuff. And we know the process apparently reverses itself on its own eventually. At least that's the way they make it sound. So it's kind of this weird thing where if it reversed itself on its own anyway and NovaCon didn't know, okay, that paints them as a little irresponsible. But if they were intentionally trying to do that, paints him as more evil, but Duncan Mathis seems to make it sound like, the process was going to reverse itself on its own eventually anyway. So it was just a lot of confusion there. Well, for me at least. I'm sure no one else really cared because, Alright, I thought I had more fan comments to go through, and I did sift through some of them for more interesting things, but those were the most interesting and ones I could probably feasibly read. I don't get anything too inappropriate, but there's some stuff that's more housekeeping that I figured we wouldn't want to be talking about here. So, that wraps up this episode. You can, of course, send more questions or comments in for the next time we do this, and, so hopefully next week will be Album 60. I don't know if John will be involved because he's got to play, so we might not be able to record in time, but anyway, it might be a few days late. Who knows? Alright, so, and of course, you can send in your live show topic suggestions. We don't know if we're going to do topics yet, or we might just do a whole album. And you can send your scene reenactment ideas via email, so it's easier for me to, consolidate all of them. And, of course, again, follow this link to see some of the cut footage and see if it was too inappropriate for a live family show. We still don't have an exact date for the live show yet. It's probably the last weekend in June, because that's when the family vacation is. Of course, we're still a little ways out, but we're just letting you know now, so, you can get your live podcast parties ready. We'll probably make up a hashtag, but we know it's not going to be that big. If we get over 20 people, I'll be stunned. And also, if we don't use the discussion topics idea, we'll probably use some of the more meaty discussion topics for an actual episode of the show. So, that wraps it up. See you next week. I'm Will. All the social media is in the description. And you can find me at The Wandering Film Critic, because I know some people probably heard me talk about my movie reviews, so goodbye.